Matrix Evolution.
Matrix Evolution!
Not all Mega Pokemon are created equally, and that's a shame because I would actually like it if my Mega Pokemon, well, felt Mega. Do you know the pain of Mega evolving a Sableye, only to find out that the giant gem it took out of its body was actually probably its brain, since it somehow forgot to do literally everything that made it good in the first place? With Pokemon Champions being out, we finally had the opportunity to use Mega Pokemon for the first time in 7 years, many of them being brand new forms from Pokemon Legends ZA. And while many of these Mega Pokemon are actually pretty impressive in battle, there's a good amount of them that don't quite live up to their title. Today I want to fix these Pokemon, but where in the past I've gone a little bit more fan fiction with my approach by coming up with brand new abilities and total reworks, since Pokemon Champions now has balance patches, I want to take a more realistic approach to this. Today we're going to buff the worst Megas in Pokemon Champions. Let's just get right into it. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, all of that. And hey, you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Lumio City. Let's just begin. Okay, we've got 8 Pokemon that I want to talk about today. I would suggest improvements to many more new Mega Pokemon, but as of right now, unfortunately, many of them aren't implemented into Pokemon Champions just yet. So alongside sending letters to Game Freak asking for them to reveal Mega Golisopod's ability to me, I will probably have to release sequels to this video once we actually get more Mega Pokemon in the game. Oh, and I guarantee some of you will have issues with the Pokemon that I claim to be unviable in Champions, but 1, I'm right, and 2, I've seen people come to the defense of these Pokemon and claim that actually you just don't know how to use them right. No one knows how to use them right. But if I were to give you a bike with square wheels and claim that you just don't know how to ride the bike the right way, you'd call me a dork. But I would never call you a dork. I love my subscribers, and I'll do my best to avoid putting fan favorites in this video. Mega Greninja is bad. Boo! Well, that lasted all of 2 seconds. Look, I'm not hating just to hate, but Mega Greninja practically has no deep tournament runs to its name in the month and a half that this game has been out. If it were up to me, I would just give it a brand new ability, but the goal of today's video is to give realistic solutions to these problems. So what is the problem with Mega Greninja? Well, it's the fact that Protean tends to hold it back more than it helps it. Mega Greninja actually has great stats in 72 HP, 125 attack, 77 defense, 133 special attack, 81 special defense, and 142 speed. It even has pretty solid coverage options in Ice Beam, Grass Knot, Gunk Shot, and all of its old staple moves from its Gen 6 days. Protean causes Greninja to change its type to the first move it uses every time it hits the field, thus granting it a new defensive profile, but also giving it a passive 50% boost in power on moves of that type. The issue is that in Generation 9, Protean was nerfed to only change the user's type once each time it's sent out. This means that if Greninja decides to click Dark Pulse on turn 1, for the rest of its time on the field, it will lose that damage boost on water moves, leading to what should be some of the strongest Hydro Pumps in the game being considerably weaker than even a Rotom Wash's Hydro Pump, a Pokemon with just 107 special attack compared to Mega Greninja's 133. Effectively, what this means is that Gen 6 Greninja is more or less better than current Mega Greninja. That Protean nerf really cuts what Mega Greninja is even capable of. Due to this current limitation on the ability Protean, we ended up with a very strange most common set for Mega Greninja, and that's in a slightly faster Blizzard spammer than Mega Frostlass, only Greninja trades its power for coverage options. And if you dare click anything other than Blizzard on turn 1, you end up with an extremely ineffective Blizzard user compared to even Mega Glalie. I think if Mega Greninja is mostly used as a lesser version of Mega Frostlass, a Pokemon who wasn't even really comparable to it in its form prior to Mega Evolving, we have a pretty huge issue with its design. Now we have a few options for fixing this. We should give Greninja access to Muddy Water to have it be a solid rain Pokemon and actually deal solid damage with water type moves. Or we could just give it back Scald, so there's actually a decent water move it would like to click. But if I had to choose how to fix it, I would just revert the changes made to Protean and Libero. If Mega Greninja were able to switch back to being a water type or dark type to actually allow it to deal solid damage each turn without having to hard commit to Blizzard spam, it would actually be a pretty solid pick as a secondary Mega on a few team archetypes, and it could even be considered a solid option into Mega Aerodactyl plus Garchomp teams, with it being able to one-shot the two with coverage moves while not being stuck as an ice type and dropping to a single rock slide. It's not like old Proteum would be broken in modern day. The current game lacks items like the Life Orb, which would maximize the damage output on Pokemon like Cinderace and Meowscarada, and since Mega Greninja can't use a Life Orb down the road anyways due to it needing to hold the Mega Stone, it would just allow for it to be more capable of dealing significant damage game to game. This channel is partnered with Gamersupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order Gamersupps through my link in the description down below or with code MoxieBoosted at checkout for 10% off. Gamersupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. Mega Banette is a pretty interesting case. It's a Pokemon who stat-wise should be set to do everything it needs to do offensively, but it just lacks the bulk or speed to really accomplish much. However, this is pretty intentional as it has the ability Prankster, which causes all status moves to have +1 priority. If Banette had access to too good of bulk while being a huge offensive threat and having priority on moves like Will-O-Wisp and Encore, it'd have a chance of being maybe a little too strong. But we live in a reality where Mega Floette exists, so what exactly is stopping them from making Mega Banette just a little bit better? We threw balance out the window as soon as that thing got Fairy Aura and Light of Ruin. It can one-shot King Gambit. What are we really doing here? For today's video, I'm not touching stats. I wish I could, but truth be told, I don't expect Pokemon champions to ever adjust stats, only abilities and moves. So what can we do? Well, the thing that causes Mega Banette to struggle so much is the fact that it's being pulled too hard in two different directions. It wants to be a Pokemon that can threaten to one-shot things and sweep games, but it also wants to be the annoying support Pokemon. And Mega Banette can't really do both at once, at least not without one of the roles being to the detriment of the other. Like one of the sets with the best balance of support and offense you'd want to run is Poltergeist, Encore, Will-O-Wisp, and either Protect or Disable. This allows for Banette to threaten massive damage off of Poltergeist while punishing Protects with Encore and burning physical attackers. But if you only run the move Poltergeist, you end up limited in two ways. 1. Banette can't hit normal types anymore due to them being immune to ghost moves. And 2. If the opponent uses up their item, Banette can't hit them period, since Poltergeist only works if they're holding an item. So obviously we need to run two moves. So you either drop Encore, Will-O-Wisp, or Protect or Disable for something like Shadow Sneak, as now you can still hit itemless opponents, but you still can't hit normal types. This is probably fine, but now it's only able to either burn or Encore for its support move, and in all likelihood, it's gonna be Encore as that's the most applicable tool game to game. That's fine and all, Banette just lost a ton of utility, making it not super worth running. So what if we let it keep all of its support moves and opt for Shadow Claw instead of Poltergeist and Shadow Sneak? Well, that move is actually just pretty weak, so now Banette doesn't even threaten a lot of 1 or even 2-hit KOs. What we're left with is a really expensive Sableye. There's just no correct option for it as things stand. So my proposal is just to give Banette so many support options that even if it can only run 1 or 2 of those moves per team, it will still be a viable pick. I'm talking the whole shebang. Reflect, Light Screen, Parting Shot, Gravity, Bulk Up, Quash, hey, even give it Moonlight and Drain Punch. At least then, a Bulk Up set with Recovery could maybe accomplish something. The point is, this is a mega prankster Pokemon. There's no reason Sableye should be able to do everything it can do and more just because Mega Banette has an actual attack stat. Mega Banette is a far more expensive Pokemon and a higher commitment, so it should be worth the price you pay. Oh, Mega Hawlucha. How could you fail the Mexican people like this? Místico took the title back from MJF, but you're telling me you can't take an extra 100 stat points from a Mega Evolution and make them work? Or you better get your act together or come 6 or 7 years from now, I might actually stop using you on ladder. Mega Hawlucha is 100% held back by its ability. No guard simply causes Mega Hawlucha to not be able to miss or be missed by attacks. Yeah, man, that's great and all, but considering it only learns like 3 moves that actually take advantage of the ability, it comes as more of a detriment than anything. Hawlucha can't miss its Stone Edge, Cross Chop, or Dual Wing Beat, but that's a really underwhelming ability. Yeah, it can't miss high jump kick either, but spoilers, it still crashes if it hits a protect, so nobody runs that move in competitive EGC. All it's really known for is passing the ability No Guard onto Pokemon like Snorlax or Excadrill using entrainment to let them have 100% accurate OHKO moves. A gimmick through and through, but that's kind of the norm for professional wrestlers. They're all about gimmicks. Shout out Danhausen. Truth be told, as much as I want to completely change the ability, I don't really see this happening as the Pokemon is just way too new. So our best option is just to give it more moves. Not only moves that take advantage of No Guard, but just moves that make sense for Mega Hawlucha. My list includes Darkest Lariat, a literal wrestling move, Fake Out, a perfectly reasonable move for a professional wrestler to know, Triple Axle, a solid coverage move that benefits from No Guard, and Tailwind, a move that Hawlucha had no business losing back in Generation 8. I have no idea why they took that away from it. Effectively, what we're doing here is giving Hawlucha more of a purpose on teams, as it would be the only Fake Out user with access to Tailwind in all of Pokemon Champions, a level of roll compression that's just good enough to actually have Sand teams consider it as a secondary Mega option. Mega Hawlucha may not have the greatest defenses or even speed, as 118 is pretty middling in a format with Sneasler and Aerodactyl running around, but I'd be able to use what limited tools it has to a much better extent. Oh, also inserting a personal life update here. As many of you guys know, I don't really have much of a social life outside of YouTube since it takes over a lot of my time to make these videos. But recently I brought on a couple of new editors to free up my time. And besides committing to daily uploads to offset that sudden free time, I actually started taking pro wrestling lessons. So if you ever watch a pro wrestling show in the Chicagoland area like a year from now, you might see me on one of them down the road. Once again, that physics degree is just collecting dust these days. Okay guys, welcome to Buffing Mega Audino fanfiction episode 300. I'm being so honest here, Mega Audino has made it into a ton of videos about buffing bad Mega Evolutions, but that's because it's the actual worst Mega Evolution of all time. Mega Audino has a Fairy normal typing with 103 HP, 60 attack, 126 defense, 80 special attack, 125 special defense, and 50 speed. Not only does it lack any offensive potential, but it lacks a lot of support tools, with its best claim to fame being its ability Healer, which has a 50% chance to heal a partner Pokemon of whatever status it has. Now, if it were guaranteed, that would be something worth considering, as it's an extremely effective anti-sleep Pokemon and a burn repellent that would make it solid counterplay to Mega Scovillain teams. Unfortunately, I don't see this change happening to Healer, as that ability would be a little too strong on non-Mega Pokemon like Chansey or Aromatisse. So I would suggest just switching the ability altogether. Healer is not nearly good enough of an ability to even consider running Mega Audino, and since I don't really see it ever getting a stat overhaul to make it anything better than an expensive Cresselia, we need to choose something actually good for it. And I have two proposals. We can either grant it Fairy Aura and Moonblast to allow it to enable partner Fairy types like Sylveon, creating effectively a Fairy Spam archetype, where it sets Trick Room for Sylveon, clicks a more powerful Moonblast due to Fairy Aura being active, and allows for partner Sylveon or other Fairy types to have some of the most powerful Fairy moves in the game. Or we can just give it Moonblast, but additionally let it have access to Follow Me for redirection, and finally change that ability to Hospitality, the signature ability of Sinistcha, letting it become a very solid support Pokemon capable of redirection, instant healing, and Trick Room. Basically a different flavor of Sinistcha, but at a much greater cost. And in all honesty, both routes are probably good enough to make Mega Audino worth running. And while both are pretty drastic overhauls to the Pokemon's design that redefine what the Pokemon is, this is legitimately the level of changes necessary to buff this thing to any form of competitive relevance. As things stand, this little cat is basically a downgrade to Mega Alakazam, as both are fast offensive mono-psychic Mega Pokemon that have the ability Trace. While Mega Meowstic does have cool abilities prior to Mega Evolution in Competitive or Prankster that it can take advantage of game to game, Mega Alakazam is going to be more valuable overall. So this once again is going to be a case of just changing the ability. And while I don't see that happening anytime soon, I think it's clear to literally everyone that these two are just too similar as things stand. No, I don't think that Mega Meowstic should get access to Psychic Surge, that level of roll compression, as both the Psy Spammer with Expanding Force and the Terrain Setter is just too strong for a Pokemon with such high speed and special attack. Eventually, it'll have access to partner Indeedee to set terrain for it, so we'll have to buff it with that inevitability in mind. Honestly, if I had to choose, I would just give it access to the ability Neuroforce. This is the signature ability of Ultra Necrozma, which causes all super effective attacks to have a boost in power, but it seems like exactly what Mega Meowstic needs to be buffed without being too strong. Anything that boosts the power of Expanding Force itself will be too much, but boosting the power of things like Dark Pulse or Energy Ball to allow its coverage moves to be more likely to OHKO Pokemon is just enough to make this Pokemon maybe worth running over Mega Alakazam here and there. I don't really think it needs that much more coverage options though, but you could maybe make a case for letting it learn Ice Beam or Flamethrower, just as long as it doesn't get anything to hit Dark types. It still needs to have some kind of answer.
What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity buck bumble.
Guys, I'm going to be so honest, I have no clue how I'm supposed to make Mega Beedrill remotely good in VGC. Like, it's fine in singles, it's nothing special, but the sheer drop-off in viability it takes when playing doubles is frankly absurd. It's got 150 attack and 145 speed with the ability Adaptability. We don't really talk about its other stats though. The point is, Adaptability is what carries Mega Beedrill to any form of relevance. That double power on moves of the same type is ridiculous off of U-turn and Poison Jab. However, I'm thinking it's probably going to have to lose this ability in order to be even a little relevant in VGC. Above all else, Beedrill needs Tailwind though. Being a 145 base speed Tailwind user puts it in the same realm of speed as Mega Aerodactyl. It's pretty objectively worse, but it's still a start. And to be honest, I'm kind of 50-50 on the next change, but I think that as strong as Adaptability is, it might do Mega Beedrill a lot of good to be immune to Intimidate and flinches, so Inner Focus could be the solution. Again, I'm not certain if this is truly worth it, as you could just pair Beedrill with like competitive Milotic, but any Intimidate is super tough for it. And yeah, that's like all I have to say about Potential Mon. I really just think it has potential, I guess. Okay, it may be so over, but we can be so back, at least as far as Mega Chimecho goes. Game Freak, it's not too late to change Mega Chimecho's ability to turning sound-based moves into steel-type attacks. Trust me, it'll make it actually kind of solid. That being said, let's just assume it's going to keep Levitate for now. Hello, Mega Bronzong. So, what can we do to make Mega Chimecho better? Well, first off, let's talk about the positives. Mega Chimecho unironically hard walls two of the best Pokemon in the game in Mega Aerodactyl and Garchomp, and it has a pretty respectable matchup into Sneasler. However, it doesn't really do much into them. What Mega Chimecho can do is fairly reliably set up Trick Room and then proceed to deal underwhelming damage to everything, even though it has access to Boom Burst. Now, there's a couple of things that we can consider when we're trying to change Mega Chimecho. I'd say that first and foremost, we need it to have better damage output. And we get that across the board by giving Mega Chimecho access to the move Nasty Plot. Now, basically every move is going to sting as long as it gets the Nasty Plot off, but we could double down on this and give it access to a very exclusive move in Mystical Power. Mystical Power is the signature move of the Lake Trio Pokemon. It's a 70 base power psychic type attack with 90 accuracy that has a 100% chance to raise the user's special attack stat by 1 stage. Obviously, this allows for Mega Chimecho to snowball its special attack stat and eventually deal a lot more damage with moves like Flash Cannon, Psychic, and yes, Boom Burst. Guys, I'm going to be honest, I don't even know how I'm supposed to buff Mega Sableye. The deal with Sableye has always been that in its base form, it's a really frustrating little goblin that sets up screens and uses Quash to make you move last, burns you, taunts you, encores you, disables you, and yet somehow still manages to be kind of mid in most formats, at least until Pokemon Champions, where suddenly it's everywhere. Limited Dex does that, go figure. Hi Sneasler, how's being on 50% of all teams going? Anyways, all this stuff that Sableye is capable of is despite its low stats, and entirely due to its ability Prankster, letting it have priority on non-damaging moves. However, once it Mega Evolves, Sableye has some pretty incredible defenses, mediocre offenses, and a much worse ability. At least that ability is pretty bad for its role in a game. If Mega Sableye kept access to Prankster, yikes, that thing's kind of a beast, but mostly it's just going to sit there with Magic Bounce and accomplish nothing. It's very reminiscent of Mega Audino, to be honest, and much like Mega Audino, my fix for it is actually kind of simple. I think it just needs Follow Me. It's still going to be bad, don't get me wrong. At least it can like tank some hits for its team though, and hey, it's barely got weaknesses, so maybe that'll make it kind of a good redirection Pokemon, and it can even bounce back the taunt. It's an untauntable redirection Pokemon. Oh, Mega Clefable would be able to do the exact same thing since it's also a Magic Bounce redirection user. At least Mega Sableye is good in singles. Video over. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It'd mean the world to me. If you want to support me even further, you can check out my Patreon page or become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button down below. This gets you sneak peeks at future videos, access to bonus content, and even access to my supporter-only Discord server where you can hang out and team build with other community members. You also see your name at the end of all my videos, like all these lovely people. Another way to support me is to check out all the videos in the playlist on screen right now. I know you'll find something in there that you'll enjoy. Or you can tune into my YouTube live streams at 6 p.m. CST Monday through Friday. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.